Good evening. This is the April 18th meeting of the Traffic Commission. Traffic Commission members that are present this evening include Lieutenant Sean Randall, representing the Police Department, Don Chermello, DPW, and Fire Chief Chris Bright. And I'm Frank Stringy, City Planner. Well, let's rise for the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First part of the meeting is to be public hearings. The first public hearing will be to amend Schedule 8 of Title 10 by removing along Ann Road on the southerly side from Malden Street to 40 feet west, no parking anytime. And by amending Schedule 8 of Title 10 by adding along Ann Road on the southerly side from Malden Street to the driveway at 2 Ann Road, no parking anytime. Any proponents? That's it right there.
Good afternoon. Chris Janino, 14 Serenity Street, Ward 6 Councilor. I was contacted by the residents over on Ann Road. Since there's a new house at 2 Ann Road now, Ann Road's kind of not teed up to the intersection. It's kind of on an angle. So what we're trying to do is trying to make it the no parking side a little further back from where it is now to the driveway, so that the view's not obstructed on it. That's all I'm trying to do, is just probably about 10, 15 feet more. And it kind of actually lines up the other side of the street once it's done, if it's approved. But if you could consider it, I'd appreciate it.
Any other proponents?
I support Councilor Janino's motion because of the number of accidents that almost occurred because of the safety of not being able to see the visibility on Malden Street coming from the southerly section, taking a left onto Ann Road, and also people coming out of Ann Road and going either to the southerly section or to the northerly section. I know Councilor Janino has witnessed this as I have. I do have folders for everyone showing the most recent times and dates and pictures showing what's happening. It's a dangerous situation, and that's first and foremost. And second is that they're blocking driveways. And even myself had to approach individuals, and it's very difficult to sometimes get these people to move. So I'd like to submit this to all the members, for each one, and showing the pictures, the recent times and dates. And what we're looking to do is, like Councilor Janino stated, we're looking just to make it safer and also, deal with, the situation of blocking the driveways. There's parking right across from there, which is plenty of parking for people to do that. So we're just talking about another 10 to 14 feet to make the safety in that area much safer for everyone involved. So I'd like to submit this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Festa. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Discussion by the Traffic Commission members? Any motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Voted, so ordered. It has been approved. Item number 3, public hearing to amend Schedule 4 of Title 10, isolated stop signs by adding the following. Charger Street at Ward Street, southbound. Any proponents? Counselor Janino?
Chris Janino Revere, I'm there, 46 Green Street, Revere. Old gentleman again. I talked with Mr. Reister about this here. The city had moved down to Charger Street. It was figured out that there's no stop sign heading up Charger towards Squire Road. So this would be a good idea to add the stop sign over there. But while we're at it, I also discovered the stop signs that are currently there now are not on the books. So where this is a public hearing for that intersection, I'd like to have it amended out to be Charger Street at Ward southbound, Charger at Ward northbound, and Ward Street at Charger westbound. This way here the signs get recorded on the books as they're sitting right now, with the additional one being added to it for the one heading up the street.
Very good. I mean, we can't add this without those. It doesn't make any sense. So we would include the whole package for the whole intersection to make it consistent. Yeah. Any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Stop sign. Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Do you have a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve. Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Voted, so ordered.
Yes.
Item number 4 is to amend Title 10 to add a drop-off zone in front of 286 Fennel Street from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week. Do you have any proponents? Councilor Argenzio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Paul Agenzio, 245 Reservoir Avenue, Ward 4 Councilor. Thank you for granting the 30-day trial. The sign has been up. The family is very thankful for the spot so they can drop their mother off and have a half an hour to get her in the house. I haven't received any complaints or any adverse comments about it. So given that, if you see fit, if you could make that permanent, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. One question, wasn't there a time for the 30-minute?
It was 30 minutes, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah.
After 5 p.m., the public can park and no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other proponents? Hearing none, seeing none, close that part of the hearing. Any opponents?
Mr. Shinji?
Yes.
I'm not going to talk as a proponent or opponent. I'm just going to let you know some problems that are going on there. Two problems. I just received another call today from a neighbor that lives adjacent to the building that there's vehicle parking there more than 30 minutes at a time, limiting parking. And I also heard from the parking department that it's very difficult for them to keep track of the 30 minutes because every time they go by there, the vehicle is staying parked. There's a vehicle staying parked in that spot. So like I said at that time, that I did not think that this was a good idea because it's taking parking off, and it's very hard for them to patrol it, and a 30-minute drop-off zone is not allowed through the state because then you're going to get people that are going to be wanting them for the ride.
Well, it seems to have been working so far, according to Councilor Argenzio, so,
You can check with 311.
yeah, we'll do that. And the signs have been up for how long? 30 days. 30 days, okay. So enforcement is an issue here. All right. Do we have any discussion by the members of the Traffic Commission on this?
Not really, because I'm not really too familiar with, parking happening there when it's not allowed.
Yeah, so the background, Councilor Argenzio can give you a little background on it.
So 284 Fennel Street, those residents are not allowed to park on the street because there's adequate parking in their parking lot. But unfortunately, there's a very steep grade to get down to the parking spot that is allotted to them, so the woman can't make it up that steep grade. So when they bring her home, she can't get out on her own. She just had brain surgery, and it helps them get her out of the car, get her in the house, and then they take their car and they move it back to where their allotted space is at 284 Fennel. I know Zach is here from the parking department. I don't know, maybe, I haven't heard any concerns. I did call him because the woman whose plate it's designed for, there was somebody parking there, that's true. So he was going to increase enforcement down there, so, but I haven't heard anything, and 311 certainly hasn't contacted me.
Well, the whole concept was to have this space available for her to have dropped off and
Yes,
picked up,
and you needed an HP
And if that's-
placard to,
to do that. And there has been no inconsistency with that. I mean, has there been another car there where she's not?
I'm not sure,
Yeah.
maybe Zach can,
Yeah.
but there has been people parking there, and I believe there's been enforcement to discourage that. Maybe he can give you some more information.
Zach, can you shed some light on this?
Zachary Babo, 300 Broadway, Director of Parking, City of Revere. So we got a couple calls from Councilor Genzio in relation to cars parking in here without a placard. During our presence, we've seen 2 different vehicles. One of them was issued a warning. They didn't return. But I would love to get a little bit more information from the ADA Commissioner on timed areas in regard to handicap parking. It seems a little convoluted. I know on the Ocean Ave, there are handicap signs that state 2-hour parking in front of the MGH, but DCR is not legally allowed to enforce those. Maybe the ADA Commissioner will expand a little bit more on the law behind that, and I would love to hear that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, briefly, that handicap signs cannot have a time constraint on them, so that's the issue. Because I had brought it up a couple of years ago, because I wanted to put some near the train stations, and then I looked into, with MOD. Unfortunately, handicap signs cannot have a time constraint on them, nor can a handicap sign be restricted to any one resident, so that's the issue. That's why, that was my, so it maybe change it to a loading zone.
Well, thank you. That's what I thought the determination was, that it'll be a drop-off zone. What was placed there, a handicap sign? Yeah, so that was wrongly placed there. It should say drop-off
So
/ loading zone.
the sign says an HP drop-off zone, handicap placard required, Monday through 7 days a week, 8 AM to 5 PM.
Yeah. So it's a temporary drop-off zone, so it's, we don't construe it as a handicap parking spot.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wish of the commission? We have a motion to allow this to continue.
I mean, my suggestion would be is that we let it continue on a temporary basis for 30 days and maybe, just hear what's happening now that we have an idea that, there might be an issue.
Yeah, well, we did allow it to continue for 30 days as a pilot program for that trial period. And you wish to add another 30 days onto that?
I'd like to see what the sign looks like. I mean, to see exactly what the.
It says it's right, but what happens, it does say exactly what Councilor Genzio said, and I didn't mean to imply that the resident was leaving their car there. It's anybody that has a handicap sign has been parking there. So that's the issue with the enforcement, that the parking department has been having the issue with it. My suggestion would be is to make it a lot easier is an easy case on it is the resident. I would have them just simply keep their hazard lights on their car, since it's a drop-off zone. This way that's the resident. Since it's a drop-off zone, you put your hazard lights on, you're unloading and loading a person in, would be the easiest way to do it, I think. Because nobody's gonna leave their hazard lights on for more than 30 minutes. Leave the hazard lights on for an hour, more than an hour, it's not good. So that might be a suggestion. Because she may be using she could use different cars too. So you can't say, well, it's just this car. But there are people in the neighborhood that have handicap signs that are trying to park there, and it's defeating the purpose for the resident.
Zach, has that been the case? Has the cars that you have put warnings on, have they have handicap placards?
So we did issue one warning to a vehicle without a handicap placard, but kind of what Ralph's saying is after the time limit is up, the car that this space has been awarded to is seemed to stay there. To touch base on Councilor Agenzio, there's nothing to stop anyone from parking on the street. The only thing is this building isn't entitled to parking permits, but that doesn't go in effect to the street from midnight to 6 a.m. So up until that point, anyone on the street with a valid permit is legally allowed to park there. Even without a permit, they can park there. Nothing to stop them, it's just starting at midnight, they would get a ticket if they're still there.
Right.
But yes, there has been cars staying there after the time has rescinded and using that as their own spot up until midnight.
Well, the idea was that it hasn't impaired her ability to get picked up and dropped off there, so it is functioning the way it was designed. So I would recommend maybe we leave it
I have a
as it is
question.
for now until,
This is one sign, one space in a city that's almost 11 square miles. How many more of these are out there? Is this something that would be eventually be used in other places? Is this something that we're going to have to adopt for other uses?
well,
Did this once before, on Winthrop Avenue, and it stayed about 3 years. There was one case at Winthrop Avenue by the rec center. For 3 or 4 years, and they moved, I came down. With a young man, once, the last one.
so we can discuss it, but it's serving for the purpose that it was intended to. Like Zach said, anybody can park there, but at this point, she's able to be picked up and dropped off at that point without any issues.
Through the chair, Mr. Chairman, so if the handicap sign is not legal, if you will, would it be just better to switch it out with a, like I said, loading zone sign?
Well, that was the intent.
Right, that
would
was
be,
the intent,
you know,
so-
Loading. But I think the
We're having problems with,
language had,
like coming out of here with a public hearing where we agree
Yeah.
on and having it
Yeah.
implemented.
that's exactly what happened.
That's been the problem, yeah.
Yeah. So I believe you want to put that in a motion, that that the sign be maintained as a loading zone sign, 30-minute loading zone? for handicap parking?
Councilor Agenzio, was there the word access on that sign, on that you just showed me?
No.
So the word access might help, so, words help, used strictly for access. And so taking the parking out of the equation, because I think the word parking was in that zone. Parking implies that it's a place to stay. But if you imply access, then it's used for access.
Yeah, so a pickup zone for handicap access, for 30 minutes. So nobody could park there with a handicap placard for more than 30 minutes.
So if you allow me, Mr. Chichico's suggestion that you pull up, you put your hazards on, you're there, you're actively loading, unloading.
Yeah.
If there's a car parked there and they're not on, it's not for parking, it's only for loading. I wouldn't be opposed to that. That's a good suggestion.
Okay,
Right, okay. No, that's a good suggestion. I appreciate that, and we can have that changed to just a loading zone, and the word parking would be eliminated.
okay. All right, do we have a motion to that effect?
Yeah, I'll, a motion that we approve, changing the verbiage out of the sign and eliminate parking in either, I think the word, access or egress is probably a better term than loading.
Seconded.
So second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Voted and so ordered. We move on to requests. First request to amend Schedule 4 of Title 10, isolated stop signs by adding on Adams Street, southbound traffic at Coolidge Street, and Raymond Road, northbound traffic at Coolidge Street. This request, was this put in by Councilor Cagliandro? Okay. And he provided maps showing the locations of these. So we have a motion to move this to a public hearing.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Voted, so ordered. We'll send it to a public hearing, move it to a public hearing. Request number 2 is to install 60 feet of traffic separators extending from the island at the intersection of Malden Street and Tuckerman Street to prevent vehicles from making prohibited U-turns from Malden Street west and reversing to Malden Street east. This would also prevent prohibited left turns from Tuckerman Street to Malden Street west. This would prevent vehicles leaving the Lincoln School parking lot turning left, which includes all school buses. B, delivery trucks would still be able to back into the delivery port, which is located at the front left side of the Lincoln School. And C, crosswalks would be utilized more by students, pedestrians, and cyclists due to the barriers making it difficult to cross at non-cross locations. D, snow removal would not be affected as plows angle the snow towards the sidewalks. And E, barriers are reflective for nighttime visibility and bend on impact. Barriers are easily installed. And G, finally, barriers located on Bennington Street in the area of Dunkin' Donuts have been very successful in the past. So on this request for the traffic separators along the island at the intersection of Malden Street and Tuckerman Street, anybody want to speak on it?
Hello, Sergeant Rose Revere Police Traffic Division. I put this request in due to the ongoing safety issues at this location and it being directly in front of the Lincoln Elementary School. What we're having there is constant vehicles making the prohibited U-turn from Malden Street westbound, going back in reversing direction to Malden Street eastbound. We're also seeing vehicles attempting to maneuver from Tuckerman Street to Malden Street westbound, crossing the double solid yellow line. It would also prevent vehicles from leaving the Lincoln School parking lot and making the prohibited left turn out of the parking lot or the front turn around to the school to go Malden Street westbound. The barriers themselves are easy to install, they're economical, they fold on impact, they're reflective. I believe that it would be a good resolution to our issue that we have there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this?
Zachary Barbo, Director of Parking. I also oversee the crossing guards in the city, and the crossing guard at this location has made a couple, Officer Lucero here in the crowd is amazing at that school because we deal with it all the time. The poor crossing guard there has to keep his head on a swivel because there are some days he doesn't know what direction the cars are coming off, and I think this is a good measure to continue the efforts of the city to be more pedestrian safety, especially with the school children and out of school. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this is a recommended safety measure to be implemented at that location. I don't believe it requires a public hearing or anything, just a vote of confidence from the Traffic Commission.
A motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Voted, so ordered. Thank you. Item number 3. Amend Schedule 5 of Title 10, one-way streets by removing Fairfield Street as a one-way. And amend, goes hand in hand, amend Schedule 5 of Title 10, one-way streets by adding Fairfield Street as a two-way. there's another part to this, and I will include this, amend Schedule 8 of Title 10 to change the eastern side of Fairfield Street to no parking anytime. Counselor?
Councilor Guarino Sawaya. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, so things happened years ago, and it was deemed a one-way when it was actually a two-way. What we're looking for is making the street, Fairfield Street, a two-way street with easterly side parking, and then I would like to add a handicap spot in front of Attorney Levine's office. I have a letter from Attorney Levine approving that the handicap spot be put in front of his office, as the woman in question does not have a driveway, and the parking will be going on her side of the street to keep it even with the rest of the streets that are on Revere Street. So all the streets that are along Revere Street on that side are two-way streets, and the parking is on the easterly side. And I would just like to keep this sequential. And we definitely need the two-way parking, as the attorney that is across the street on Revere Street cannot get into his driveway without it coming from that street.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
That is correct. Every street off of Revere Street in that area is two-way with one-sided parking along the westerly side. We have a motion to move this to a public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, can I please make a suggestion?
Sure.
I took a look at this street. If you take a look at this street, number one, if you take a look at MOD, we've denied numerous handicap signs for people on the opposite side of the street, not because of City of Revere ordinances, because of Mass MOD case laws. You never, ever, ever want to have a person that's disabled crossing a street to get into their home with a handicap sign across the street, not only in good weather, but bad weather. If the street is icy or snow, they should be going right from their vehicle right onto the sidewalk, not crossing the street. That's why handicap signs are always issued in front of their home on their side of the street. The simplest suggestion for this, and what was talked about, what should be done, since there are no signs posted on the street for which side is parking, parking should go on the opposite side of the street. If you take a look at this street, no less than 6 more vehicles would be able to be parked on that side of the street because of the amount of driveways on the other side and the amount of openings for driveways on that side. You'll be able to fit 6 more cars on that street for parking if you allow parking on the opposite side of the street. So that would, number one, create more parking for off-street parking. Number two, will allow a handicap sign on the proper side for the resident that needs a handicap sign.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes.
If we put the parking on the opposite side of the street, if you're coming from North Shore Road and you're taking a right onto Revere Street, and then you're coming from Revere Street that way, and you're taking a right onto Fairfield Street that way, okay? You have to put the parking 20 feet in, because if you do not, then somebody coming around that corner and somebody coming out the street is gonna end up getting hit. That's why the
By
parking
law.
is on the opposite side on all the streets. Now, I actually have a piece of paper that is the ordinance for the city, and it says the traffic commission alone shall have final decision-making authority on the new designation of handicap parking spaces. So I know Mr. DeChico's intentions are good, but if the woman in question has no problem with walking across the street to go pick up her car, then I do not see what the problem will be.
By law, 20 feet from an intersection, there is not supposed to be any parking.
That's correct also. And, that was one of my suggestions to provide a resolution to this whole thing. But we're changing everything around. We don't know how long this handicap sign will even be there. I just want to open it up to discussion to the members. The only difference here is the handicap sign is across the street, and the owner of that property adjacent to that handicap sign has no issue with it, there's no problem. And I agree with Mr. Chico. It's not the best way to allow handicap signs to be across the street where the handicapped person has to negotiate, traffic to get there. But this is a kind of a different situation, and I'd like to open it up for discussion to the members. Councilor Eugenio.
Cristiano, Security Street, Revere. Just for clarification, this isn't the first time we put a sign across from a residence or on a corner next to a house. We had one up on Mountain Avenue. We had one across the street on Proctor Avenue. We had one down on Boston Street, across the street at one time. I'm still there or not. But this is, as the ordinance requires, it's the closest spot to the person's door. As far as the Mass ADA, could be different, but as far as the ordinance goes, it's the closest spot to that door. Doesn't say which side of the street it goes on. It's to make it accessible to that person that needs the sign. And we've worked with them in the past and stuck them in locations where it worked for them.
Yeah, if they have been, and that's been correct, if they have been no issues with the residents on the street.
There was one on
for that.
Dolphin Avenue, I said Mountain Avenue, Proctor Avenue, and we've done it. And it has worked out. But
If
just
that's the case, it wouldn't go in front of the law center then.
Traffic Commission is the say in the handicap signs.
Do we have a motion to move this to a public hearing?
Motion to move to a public hearing.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So ordered.
Aye.
Items 4, 5, and 6 will be moved to a public hearing.
That's bullshit. So I'm gonna get a handicap sign in front of my house now, because parking's not allowed on my side of the street. All right,
There's no further business.
that's all I'm gonna do.
I requested my